Hey everybody, welcome to Leo's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. I'm going to start a new series. This is intended to be a recurring segment. I don't know, I'm failing to think of the right word, but this is something we're going to do off and on as I find a reason to do it. And the name of this series is What the Heck Are We Thinking? Okay, now that's pretty broad. That's what the heck are we thinking as it relates to this hobby. Classic chainsaws, okay? And I want to be clear, I am not calling out buyers, I am not calling out sellers, I'm not attempting to criticize any one person, any one decision, any one purchase. What I'm doing is noting things that to me are a little bit of a head scratcher, whether that be on pricing, condition related to pricing and vice versa, availability of something, perceived value, just fun. I mean, it's intended to be fun up to a point, but it's driving at something a little bit deeper that I've been talking about off and on, just in, usually I think it's a Saturday update, or a few of them I've called where the hobby is going or something like that, you know. And it just reflects trends that I personally see of less collector saws out there, higher sale prices, even higher asking prices. And to me, the analogy or the similarity, for me, what I see is a similarity to what happened to stock car racing, okay? It started out as some guys in a garage with a few good ideas, more beer, and cheap parts. You and I can't get into stock car racing these days. It's become a business. It's become a rich man's sport. Maybe I could phrase that better, but that's the way my dad would have described it. I tend to agree. And I fear, to a certain extent, sections of this hobby are doing the same thing. So that's kind of an explanation of this. We'll see how it goes. Like I say, I intend for this to be recurring, but if nobody watches and nobody cares, we'll see. We'll see. Let's head into the computer and I'll show you what I've come up with for this particular episode. Okay. We'll start with my favorite topic, which is, of course, Homelite saws. And you'll note that certain parts of the screen are going to appear censored. Again, I'm not trying to call out any sellers. I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. I'm just pointing out things that make me scratch my head and go, So we're looking at a 770 GS stick shift. This is a gear drive with the multi-speed transmission. Admittedly, this is a very, very rare saw. Is it $3,500 worth of rare? That's for you guys to decide. I won't be bidding. I see that it has a best offer, but most people would be pretty insulted by, you know, an offer that's less than a third of their asking price. And truth be told, if I was to try to procure this saw, that's about where I'd land. I have never spent above $1,000 for a saw. I'm not about to start. At least I sure don't think so. So, there you go. That's first on my list. Next up. Double-sided Homelite dealer sign with bracket. Now again, this is pretty cool. That looks, that looks pretty big. I mean, that's, I'm going to assume a 3-foot sign. Well, there's some measurements, 2 foot by 4, 2 by 4. So that's a big sign. That's pretty cool. Collector signs have always demanded a pretty high price, but again, $3,000 and local pickup only in Wisconsin. If you live in Wisconsin and you got $3,000 to drop, cool. Another one that's definitely outside of my price range. All right, an 8800. I certainly spent far less than this on mine. Granted, that was a few years ago. This is pretty clean. Still got some stickers in place. It looks like, I think that's the UT tag that's still in place down there. Sure looks like it. Looks like maybe the spring on the safety lever, throttle safety lever is broken, but other than that, pretty good, clean looking saw. Not sure. Guess that's a little rust on that bolt. Anyway, good saw, good looking saw. 1100. I don't know. This one, this just hit the laugh factor for me. It's not a 750. This is either a 450 or a 550. You can tell that clearly by this ridge right here and the shape of the starter housing. Even though it says Super 650, that's clearly somebody's decal. And fuel and oil caps are reversed. So, does that make it any less of an interesting saw? No. Remember how many, there we go. But this is kind of where it falls apart for me. It does not have a drive case cover. I don't know what the idea is around the muffler here, but it's blocking the exhaust outlet. And a custom air filter, velocity stack, whatever you want to call it, just doesn't quite do it for me. So it's a nice Franken saw. Somebody clearly had some fun with that. But for 1100 bucks, I'm not certain that I'm seeing the value there. XL 400 automatic sitting at just shy of 900. Pretty clean. It does have the later rubber grip handle, kind of nice. It does have a tag. That is very nice. Looks like a NOS bar. It's a clean saw. This is a good looking saw. If you wanted a shelf queen, this probably would be the one for you. It does not appear to have a lot of hours, so we're getting closer. For me, this would be a $300 or $400, maybe $500 saw. $899 would be a tough one for me to pull the trigger on. $925 for $750. I don't think so. I'm not there yet. I see too many of these things sell for $200 to $300. I just don't see it. Condition is that this is a $300, maybe a $400 saw at most, if you look around. So I think this is a bit of an optimistic price. $700 for a Homelite gas can. It is admittedly in beautiful shape, and the print is still good. And yeah, that spout is pretty cool. Made in Canada. I don't know what else to say. I would be very hard pressed. You can do a can that looks pretty damn good for quite a bit less than this. So again, I think that's a bit of an optimistic. All right, we're going to get into some solds here. This one I was watching and I nearly crapped a golden pickle when I saw what it sold for. Granted, a 729 is not the most common saw ever, and this one is fairly complete. But oh my God, $1,600? Yeah, it's got some readable print. Looks like that muffler is mostly complete. I'd be shocked if there's still an element in there. The bar and chain certainly have some value. Would appear that the belt drive cover is intact. Might even still be an air filter in here. Bucking spike. Handle doesn't appear broken from here. Even has a spark plug cover. I mean, this saw has some stuff going for it. But I'm just left with asking the question of who is it out there that's bidding this much on a saw that clearly needs this much work. I just don't know who those folks are. Here's another one. We had two sell within days of each other. This one was, wow, this one was not far from me, up in Monmouth. I could have driven to pick this one up, but not for $1,200, and especially not with the amount of paint that's missing. Now it's complete, so if a guy was looking for something for a resto, a repaint, and all of that, and it's got a nice tag, I mean, that is a very nice tag, and it's nice that it's complete. Again, a bar and a chain. That green on that, whoop, come on. That green on the chain really makes me think that this was some steel chain at some point, but then maybe somebody just got happy with some green spray paint. I'm not sure. It's hard to think that steel produced chain that would end up on this Homelite. I don't know. A lot of detailed pics here. Again, something this old that you're not going to go out and cut with. It's hard for me to get there. But it wasn't for someone else. New old stock 410. All right, now we're getting down into the range of where I can see it. Okay, $800 for a new old stock 410. The Homelite box is not totally roached. It actually still has serial tag on it. That's pretty cool. It has the display tag on it. A UT tag that's not all jacked up. That's pretty late run. 1987. It's pretty cool. It's a good looking saw. That, if I didn't have a couple nice 410s, that would have been tempting. And you can be sure I was peeking at this one. Alright, new old stock Super XL. These are still out there. At nearly $800, this is a very pristine saw, but it also does not come with the box because it was damaged. You can see the original cardboard insert is still there between the bar plates. Looks like an O. What does that translate to? That's a 93. Looks like a 16-inch bar. Got the literature. Oh, maybe this did come with the box. It was just damaged. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Hard for me to get quite that high for one of these. I'd have to really be sitting on some money I didn't care about. All right, we're going to move over to McCulloch CP125, $3,800. Wow. That's a tough one for me. Real tough one, especially since this is a repaint. Even if it's the best done repaint, it's still a repaint. Now, I don't know anything about this seller. They may be the world's most awesome builder on the planet. This probably means something to the McCulloch guys. Powder coated dual carburetor. Wow. So this is a custom thing. So all the rules go out the window on custom stuff. You just, yeah. It's not for me though. That would be 8 times, with shipping 9 times what my first car cost. Kind of puts it in perspective. 2200 Super Pro 125C. Nope. Complete saw, it appears. I don't know if there's any close-ups of the... I mean, that muffler still looks like it's largely okay. It has a legit tag. Was this the fully adjustable? I don't think so. That's a Tilly. So that's got the governed carburetor, kind of like mine. Or exactly like mine. Lots of pictures. Yes, that's the inside of the cylinder. Weird. Too much for me. Maybe not for someone else. A lot of people have viewed it. No one's pulled the trigger yet. Here's another one that's in the same basic price range. Just don't quite understand who's going to pull the trigger at that high a price. I've got a good job. I'm not bragging. I'm just stating I do have a good job and a good income. But dropping this much coin on a saw just doesn't feel right. Not with, yeah, I can't, don't know that I can do that. And this carburetor just looks, that's a Tilly also. So yeah, it's got the single adjustment. Man, good picks, clean saw. A saw like this at 1,000, that's where I would be comfortable. And granted, this one's in, it is in Canada. So the buy it now price gets it a little closer, but yeah, still a tough time. $7.95. Again, I know this is a predecessor to what we were just looking at, and there's a following. These big old, these style McCullochs have never done anything for me at all. Just don't do it. So, but putting that aside, a saw this big, this old, this hard to get, you know, internal engine parts for. Odds are good that this is just fine, but man, it's up there. Now here we're getting into a few things that just kind of go, okay, this is people fishing for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. And again, I'm not criticizing any one person. If you can sell something at a price like this, good on you, I guess. Pro Mac 800 for $1,100. Now this is saying mint. I want to look real close at this. I guess it is. That looks legit. Some of these that are called mint are actually repaints, but this one doesn't appear to be one of those. This appears to be an actual genuine low-hour saw, but man, that paint has a lot of shine to it. But the chips are in the right places to make me think that that's original paint, but again, unless you see it in person, you never know for sure. Isolators have definitely some age to them. They all do, but those will hold up. It's really hard for me to tell on that one. Has been restored at one point. It is a repaint. So, yeah. 82cc saw, that price, no. Alright, new old stock 390. This is a cutoff saw based on the Power Mac 310. Definitely a novelty. Definitely something you don't see every day. Especially new in the box. I mean, that is kind of cool. I mean, this belongs in Mark's Chainsaw Museum. But if I remember right, this doesn't come with the cutoff assembly. Or at least it doesn't show it in the pictures, and it says you'll get what's in the picture, so I'm unclear on that one. Pro Mac 700, I don't think so. $300 is the max I'd be willing to spend for, and I spent less than that for the one in my collection. Yeah, a new old stock one would run quite a bit more. This is a nice one, but $750, even with free shipping, even say shipping's, you know, $100, $650 is still a little on the rich side of what I would personally want to put into a 70cc saw. You might be different, but alright, here's some solds. Now this was a best offer, so I don't know what it actually sold for. Good thing that clicker works. We'll go down in a minute. I know this had a bunch of new stuff put into it, so that's cool. Cosmetically, it's not... She's no shelf queen. Roller bar is worth something. Piston looks pretty nice. And that's all we're going to get. Bearings, rings, carb kit, muffler guard, points and condenser. Has the SDC fully adjustable carb. Okay. Pretty cool. Definitely cool that it has all those new parts. Hard to get there though for me. Same thing. Another 125. I'm assuming because it doesn't have a cross out in there that it actually did sell for the 1900. That's about double where I would top out of one of these. Again, some of the painted items look really nice. Others show definite wear. Paint loss. But they're old saws. I wonder what it took to dent that handlebar and not break the tank. That's actually kind of amazing. Another 125. Now this one gets you awful close because this is a 125, not a 125C. I wasn't saying the C in those other ones, but that's the difference between a steel bore and a chrome bore. And these earlier ones are more desirable. So the 1500, this is close. I mean, if you're on the fence, this is a hard one to pass up. And somebody didn't. Another 125C. Best offer, under 1500. So again, we're getting closer. Another wanker in the handle there. Some worn paint. Yeah, it's a 125. What can I say? All right, a BP1. This is kind of hard to judge because these were recalled and supposed to be destroyed, so the people who do have them know what they've got. I'm on the fence on this one. If I gave a rip about the really old McCullochs, this might have been something that would have tempted me. If I had Mark's Chainsaw Museum that had so much focus on McCulloch, I'd probably really have given a rip. I'd have to find one a bit cheaper, though, to throw one in my collection. Pro Mac 800. That sold for less than $1,000, but we don't know how much less. But that was basically the listing price. And again, no way. No way. There are too many of these still out there. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's too much to spend on one of these. Again, good on the seller who gets it. And that one I think is original paint, but damn. Super Pro 81 for $800 plus shipping. Okay, there's a lot of these out there too. And the $500 mark is about where I would top out on one. It would have to be awfully nice. And this one's not bad. I mean, it's got the full wrap, everything's there. But I'm not that into them. All right, we're going to switch over to Pioneer. We're getting closer to the end here. P62 for $900. All right, it's a 100cc saw. Not the easiest to come by. Also, this one has been good and used. Okay. It's got some paint loss, some sticker loss. It's not bad. It's not too terribly bad. But if I'm going to spend $900 on a saw, I'm going to want it to be a little more cosmetically sound, and I'm going to want the full wrap handlebar. That's just me. But I know that this has been on for a while, because I've been watching it for a while. Farmsaw II for, again, out of Canada, so US price is $528. You're getting close there, okay? This does not appear to have done a hell of a lot of work. This is pretty clean. But I'm a little curious. That almost looks like ghosting of paint on there. I wonder. Saw has some degree of restoration. Partial repaint touch-up on case. All right, there you go. Not that that's a bad thing. Just make certain that you figure out what it is you're buying. If I spent $500 on a saw that had touch-up paint that I really couldn't go out and use because that paint's going to chip right off, I'm not going to be as happy. P41 full wrap handle and rare guard. Well, they're talking about the chain guard? That's kind of interesting. So it's pretty clean, but somebody's played around. That checkered is not original. It should say P something up there, P41. I'm going to say this was a replacement part that was installed for the brake handle, and somebody's put some racing sticker style stuff on here. You know, it's not for me. And somebody's played with the paint down here. But this is a, what would this be? I believe a 66cc saw. Okay. 475. All right. Maybe. Maybe. P40 or P39 / P42 for 500. It's a mismatch saw. If you need, so for a collector, this isn't going to work. You're going to end up spending another $100 trying to find the right color starter to go on there and to make everything right. The rest of it, you know, it's a P39, okay. Decals missing from that cover, whatever. The tank paint's not terrible. Still has the decomp valve, but you're missing this cylinder cover because of that incorrect starter cover. So, and I don't know what, that photo doesn't even belong in there. But again, $500, I need this to be right. Few solds. P52, this was repainted, and this sold for about $620 at the time that it sold. With the amount of work that went into the repaint, and it's got a good engine, all right, I see the value. Looks like the bucking spikes got painted too. That'll wear off pretty quickly. If you're throwing it on the shelf to display and you never use it, but riddle me this for you Pioneer experts, did a P52 ever come in the green like this, or should it not be the orangish yellow that goes with a partner? I'm actually curious on that. I don't know that that's the right color for it. P42 for 400. Okay, you're into a 60cc saw. Pretty clean. If you need one of these for your collection, you consider that. I would consider this. You can buff that stupid marker off of there, the exhaust damage, a lot of that can buff out. Not all of it, but a lot. Most of the paint is intact. Everything looks like it matches. This doesn't look like a cobbled together saw. So it sold for 400. I'm not offended by that. P60, that sold for 360. Okay, that was a good deal. Again, that's a 100cc saw, and even accounting for the fact that there is no chain brake, which was pretty common to not have on the 60, and there's somebody's goofy velocity stack and custom air filter, even if you account for that, full wrap handle, goofy decal that somebody put on, that was a good price. You can do a lot of the stuff that you need to do to this. Again, for a 100cc saw, that does not offend me at all. 655, we're into Poulan Pro. We're into some more crazy prices. So I know, again, the custom air filter, that's desirable to some folks. This is saying 98cc. I thought it was 100, whatever, close enough. 3 grand? If I won't spend 3 grand on a 125, I sure won't spend it on a 655, and I didn't. I spent a small fraction of that on the one I have, and yeah, this is too much. Here's another one. This has the opportunity to go a lot cheaper. I also know that the price on this one's been lowered significantly after it was up for about a week. I think somebody saw that other one I was just looking at and was hoping for the best. This is not nearly as clean, but it's certainly one that I would consider. But $13.99 is still a little higher than what I would want to go for something that's in this condition. This is, to me, this would top out at the $750, maybe $800 if I was feeling rich in that day. Sold. $1,200. I hope somebody's happy with that. Now, you do have the starter decal still in good shape. This is apparently not a boost port, or at least it's not labeled as such. Doesn't appear that it's been abused all that terribly much. Still even got part of the sticker on the chain brake side. Curious if they show the tag. Come on. Nope. So, yeah, more than I would like to spend, but I guess if you need one, you need one for your collection. All right, last one. Another 655. Again, it sold for less than the 1100 because that's crossed out what it was. Couldn't tell you. This one's arguably a little bit cleaner than the last one that we looked at. Not a huge amount. Muffler's got some rust on it. If you were really wanting a display, you would clean that up with some new paint and deal with the taped down throttle safety. Those stickers are good. It still has a proper air filter. Do we get to see the engine tag on that one? It's there. I don't think I can get, yeah, there's no detail on that, but is it worth? Whoop. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, that was interesting. I don't know that it does anything for you guys. I didn't get this camera in the right spot. That was fun. Like I say, I don't know if that does a whole lot. I'll look to the comments on this one and see if this is something that we should continue or not. It's interesting to take a little peek at what's going on and where things are at. This is a slow time to be selling. Summer has always been a slow time. I've noticed that from day one, from way back when I was on eBay. People are out doing stuff. They're going to the lake, going to the river, going camping. You know, the fall, whew, it picks up. Going into the holidays, it definitely will pick up. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what prices do. I don't feel that a lot of what we looked at, that kind of pricing is sustainable in this hobby for the average person, okay? Like I said, there were so many of those. I wouldn't personally, whoop, hopefully that wasn't too loud. I wouldn't personally pay a lot of those prices to put one in my collection. Just can't justify it. There's too many other things that you need to spend money on in life, but there's obviously some folks who can. So this is long enough. Like I say, drop a comment if you would. If you want to see this kind of stuff, if you don't. It wouldn't always be just focused on, you know, a whole bunch of saws like that. I may do a quick 5-minute blurb if I see something just crazy pop up, but for this initial run, thought I'd go through a little bit more. We'll catch you guys on the next one.